Hi, this is Penn Jillette on CBS Radio, Free FM, and I'm sitting here in Las Vegas with Michael Goodell, who's often at my side, and we have a guest today. We have Julia Sweeney, who is do you still use Saturday Night Live as part of your resume when people introduce you? Or are you just totally done with that?
It's really so long ago. It's embarrassing that I don't have something more.
Well, no, you have like off-Broadway shows and stuff, right? Or Broadway. On-Broadway shows. I have both, too.
But anyway, nobody knows about Broadway. You're talking about people don't know about show business.
Well, people don't know.
No, making money show business. No, people know Saturday Night Live. Popular culture, they know me from Pat, doing Pat on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and that was how long you were? That was after us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're much more recent than the Penn and Teller on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, but they don't say Saturday Night Live Penn and Teller. You have established a new identity that is independent of that. Your recent success is now bigger than that success.
Nothing is ever bigger than Saturday Night Live, and if you don't believe it, talk to Lauren.
Okay, no, I if he were here, I would say that's right. That's
That's so right.
Yes, I'm sorry. Did I even say that it couldn't be?
You've now become
straight from Wikipedia. Julia's on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
so straight from Wikipedia.
Yes. Yeah, and there's not that many people, that are on Wikipedia. It's only
really?
Several thousand. Like what, 20,000 or something?
I don't know.
It's a very small number. It's a very tiny number.
That seems small, 20,000.
It is. It is I was surprised. So being in Wikipedia is better than being
and an accurate entry.
Because you put it in there. That's why.
No, I didn't. But I had a big conversion to Wikipedia when they did that study showing that the Encyclopedia Britannica had the same or more mistakes in it than Wikipedia did.
And there's something so beautifully really about it, that the people are banding together and policing each other.
I know.
It really
I love
is
that.
such a wonderful argument for anarchy.
But it is an anarchy. I mean, it's self-organized.
Yes, exactly. Which is anarchy. No government, no guns.
I don't think of anarchy defined that way. But anyway, if you
think
define
of anarchy,
I think of people running in the streets going, ah! Like that. Anarchy. Like when you say, look at this room, it's anarchy, you don't think it's ordered.
I actually do.
Okay.
Because I have, if you wanted to know what my politics are, libertarian is a little bit too fascist for me. I'm probably an anarcho-capitalist. So now
let me ask you this. So you don't have to talk to me about this, but no parks, no public education,
absolutely
no streets?
Not. Absolutely. Well, no, streets and parks, but all privately owned. Because privately owned, they'd be taken better care of, I think. I think
privately owned streets, so you could have a toll when you get to your area.
Sure, yeah, and they'd make you a reasonable deal. If I owned your street, I'd make you a deal. It wouldn't be that bad. I'd be kind. When I was talking about Ralph Nader when he was running for president, I would say he's right that corporations run this country. He's wrong that it's a bad thing.
And you think we should be in like Microsoftville or something?
In Microsoft schools, yeah. I think Microsoft would easily pay for schools and do a great job. Much better.
But why would they pay for schools? So they would have workers for them.
But also for charity. Charity works. Bill Gates has shown.
But why would he do that?
Why is Bill Gates doing all the good he's doing now?
Why is he fighting malaria?
But I mean, so you leave it up to the whim of the person who's made the most money.
Yeah, as opposed to people with guns, which is where we have it now. It's all done with force. I'm not a big force guy. But, if you're real hardcore, no violence guy like I am, you don't want the government to, I don't think there should be public radio. I think radio done by guns is a bad idea. See, government to me just means the people who can use force against us. And I'm not a big fan of that.
And then tell me about the education. So there would be only private schools.
Only private
And there
schools.
would be no curriculum that would be like a standard curriculum or anything like that.
Well, you might. You might want your kid to go to a school that has standard curriculum. If you want them to learn, let's say, what we have, the curriculum now is, I believe, nothing.
That's not true.
You still have
my daughter's in public school, and she's getting a really amazing education.
Well, this is the horrible, sad thing, is that my daughter, who's, not even 2 yet, we took her into Montessori to spend like one day, and she just loved it. So I had this horrible nightmare that my daughter's going to love school. Because I've been all there saying, if either my daughter or son want to drop out, my big regret in life is not dropping out of school sooner. So I'm there to back my kids, and my kids are probably going to both love school and do great and do fabulously.
Because, you mean, on the reverse psychology
No,
idea?
no, just because I think a lot of people do really like school. I think there's very few of us that really did dislike it at a very, very deep level. And since Saturday Night Live, you also become...
I don't disagree. There are some people who don't like it and some people who do.
Did you like school?
I really loved school, but I was lazy about... I didn't get great grades, but I loved it. Because I loved the idea that somebody was spoon-feeding me all this information they'd studied, and I loved that.
Oh, I love that, too.
I mean, to me, that's like going to lectures here. Like, you have somebody like Eugenie Scott. Oh,
yeah,
I'm not supposed to say that.
No, you can say that.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Stop the show.
When I hear a lecture, here and there around town, in L.A., here.
No, we're in Vegas now.
Wherever I go to hear my lectures. Could be New York, could be Chicago. I enjoy it because here's somebody who's an expert and they're showing me what they're...
Oh, I like the parts I didn't like about school were being beat up for being a big kid. That's the part I didn't enjoy. And I also didn't...
You must have been you didn't use your power or anything.
I wouldn't...
But what about all the people who didn't even think about beating you up?
I never hit anybody, so I was a good person to beat up. If the word gets around, you don't hit back.
Yeah, you get a lot of status from beating you up.
Sure. But there's a point between when everybody learns there's no status, they still think there is status, and during that point you get hit.
Yeah.
And also when you have my personality, you get hit.
Right.
It's as
I
easy
can
as
imagine.
that. But you've become like the pinup girl for atheism. Haven't you?
That's so funny.
Haven't you?
Oh,
I mean,
man.
Richard Dawkins is the big meanie, right? And Christopher Hitchens is the psychopath.
I know, but nobody knows about me. I mean,
you did a show on Broadway, which, as you said, doesn't matter.
No, but I didn't do this show on Broadway. I did a different show on Broadway, and but I'm going to do the movie in this year sometime. Current schedule.
Yeah.
And so.
But you did God Says Ha.
Yeah, I did God Said Ha.
And that had a.
Yeah, so I'm hoping Letting Go of God will have it'll do like God Said Ha did. If it did like God Said Ha did, that'll be great.
You're thinking to yourself, well, George Burns had a good career, and he had God in the title of his movies.
Yeah, I know. In fact, I'm going to use that idea.
So God in the title, that'll do really well for me.
No, I don't know. I don't know how it'll do.
But God Said Ha was on. I mean, there was a time on my television when there was nothing but God Says Ha.
That's not true.
It's true. It was on the Independent Film Channel. It was on Cinemax.
A lot.
It was everywhere. They were playing it all. It was like Ski School and God Said Ha. That's all there was. Just over and over again.
Anyway, I hope Letting Go of God plays.
Yeah, because you're a Catholic schoolgirl, even though you're not wearing the uniform, which is bumming me tremendously.
I do. Those uniforms are fantastic.
They are, aren't they?
They are. They're the best thing about Catholic school.
Yeah. When's the last time you wore yours? See, here, I mean, there's a horrible thing here. I don't like anybody that gives advice to people on their shows, but now I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I think if you did Letting Go of God, all of your Catholic school.
Oh, I thought of that. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding?
What she means by, oh, are you kidding? Are you kidding? You could have an idea that I wouldn't have thought of?
No, I don't know. No, I wanted to. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why didn't you?
I just thought it was too jokey.
Too jokey?
Yeah.
You did not too sexy. See, Catholic schoolgirl outfits aren't jokes to many people. They're I
understand the sexiness of it. Yeah. But I didn't want my sex appeal to distract from what I was saying.
Oh, sure. I have that problem. I have that problem so much.
I have to work against my natural sex appeal just so people listen to me.
That's why the Pat character, right?
Exactly.
That's why the Pat. And but you've been in a ton of movies. You've been in, haven't you?
Not really. I mean, little parts.
Yeah, but you show up. You're you're in some very cool movies. Yeah, you can't. That's
probably my coolest one.
You can't be in a cooler movie than that, can you?
No, but I was in that movie for 30 seconds.
Yeah, but right when it's
a couple
cool.
Minutes or something.
Right when it's cool, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
When Harvey Keitel is coming in and the whole cleanup.
Oh,
yeah.
Harvey.
I was once in a discussion with, I guess I won't say who, well, maybe I have to. Well, it doesn't matter. A group of us in showbiz were sitting around telling stories of crazy people we'd slept with.
Yeah.
And we all had really good stories of psychotics that we'd been involved with.
Who were famous people?
Yes.
What was the criteria? Crazy and famous? Or just crazy?
Well, we were people who had been in show business, mostly talking about other people that we'd had sex with that were in show business. And one of the people in this discussion was Fisher Stevens, who you'd think would win hands down for sleeping with crazy famous people. And then a woman in the group spoke up and said, I was married to Harvey Keitel.
Was Lorraine Bracco?
Yeah, of course. That's why I figured that the story was impossible to tell without saying that. And she just won hands down. She didn't even have to tell a story.
but why would you think that he would be so crazy? I really don't.
I'm sorry. I don't have that.
I don't have that feeling from him. I actually spent a certain amount of time with him. I found him to be incredibly lucid and smart and well-read and calm.
I believe all that, but calm too?
Yeah.
I guess I just think with The Bad Lieutenant, I just think that's a documentary on Harvey Keitel.
No,
that was always my thing.
Conflating his character with himself.
I guess that's a mistake they made with Ice-T. He's an actor.
I would think Lorraine would be more. Of those two, I would say Lorraine would be the more volatile one. And I don't have no evidence for that. I would just say knowing Harvey's centeredness and his calmness.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's like the greatest thing I've heard. I've been completely and utterly duped. I just assumed he'd be like psycho dangerous.
Well, maybe he is.
Would you spend time with him, right?
Well, he was friends with Quentin. I was hanging out with Quentin. I would see him occasionally. I just saw him in New York a couple years ago, and we would have lunch, and we did SNL. We did a Pat sketch together.
Did a what?
Kissed. I mean, in the sketch, not for real.
But still, you kissed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of a real kiss.
It's kind of,
Because when they do those fantasy scenes in movies, they still really had to do them.
Right, exactly.
So even though you were on screen, you were still kissing them.
I know, I always think that.
I've always been a huge fan of Harvey Keitel and always just thought
me too.
He's a wacko.
Really?
Yeah.
I never had that.
Yeah, because I always think that anybody that's good at acting either has to be stupid or so crazy that it's indistinguishable from stupid. I think your best actors, I think to be an actor, being stupid is a real plus. Because then you're able to distill human. I mean, if you're trying to really.
But what if you're incredibly observant, so that you notice all these traits and you can bring all of these observant traits into your character?
I think it's because
intelligence.
I go through life so oblivious that I can't even think of someone being observant. That doesn't even cross my mind. I don't even know what color the room I'm in is. I never know anything around me ever.
I struggle with that too, but I try to.
Try to pay attention?
Yes, I try to. I don't always succeed.
Let's see. Is there a TV behind you? Don't look.
Well, yes, I would say yes. The chances are high, right? I'm in a hotel room.
There's always a TV behind you.
Studying probability.
She's doing probability. She's not really doing
not awareness.
Observation. So do you like this being the pinup girl for atheism, which is what I'm going to call you?
It's so funny. I love that you're saying that about me.
Well,
I feel like I should wear sexier outfits.
Well, I've given you a lot of advice. Pinup girl for atheism, wear the Catholic school.
And you want me to wear the Catholic school shirt?
Yeah, I'm here to help.
I like it because it makes me laugh that if I could, think of like Sister Antonella rolling in her grave thinking, this is what happened to little Julia Sweeney. We thought she'd be a nun.
If you want to be the pinup girl for atheism, you can't talk about people rolling in their graves. They're just dead.
No, I think she's just dead. But I like to have a thought experiment that amuses me about it.
But she helped. She helped you on your road to atheism, didn't she?
Yeah, well, she actually made me like religion enough. Because now I keep talking to people who just never considered religion very much ever in their life. I actually liked it. I really got a lot out of it. And actually I got so much out of it, but I had enough skeptical thinking just innately that I wondered why I was getting so much out of it, and then that made me look into it. And then because of my very good Catholic education, I had the skills to look into it with enough critical thinking to take it to its logical end, which is there is no God and it's all a bunch of bunk. Yeah. So that, in that sense, it aided me.
I have much more in common. There's a whole group of atheists who their view of religion is I don't care. There's that whole sense of it never really bothered me. I never really thought about it much, but I guess now that you're pinning me to the wall, I guess I am an atheist. I never understand them at all. I understand the fundamentalists, right. I understand people like you, but I
used to be a little like that because from the time I got out of, Catholic school till when I was like 38, I like to dip in all pots. Like I thought, I made fun of it and I thought it was funny. But I also dipped into it when I needed it. Mm-hmm. So I really was very slutty in my thinking. I just thought, okay, I believe now, and then in a couple months, what they said about God is ridiculous. And I didn't sit and look at it logically all the way through and then go back and rethink everything up till then. Like I just didn't clean house like I did.
What I like about, when you talk about in your show, was giving up God?
Letting go of God.
Same thing.
Giving up God.
Giving up God, letting go of God. Although not a Catholic, I was raised in the Church of the Covered Dish Supper up in New England, Congregationalist, very Christian light. But I went to Bible study classes and studied all this stuff, and it was a real love of wanting to learn about religion that got me to atheism as well. And that's the way I understand, because it seems like the most important decision you can make in your life.
It is.
And the people that just shrug it off on either side, who just go, well, I kind of believe in God because my parents did, or I kind of don't believe in God because I never thought of it. I've never been able to understand, because it is, I think, the most important decision you can make.
I think so too, and I think that's the biggest crime that religion does, is it quells the natural, inquisitive spirit of human beings. Like, it kind of just doesn't, like, to me, being forced to look at the world with a no-God perspective was such a profound shift in the way I viewed every single thing in my life for the better. Mm-hmm. It made me an adult. It made me look at the world as an adult, basically, that I don't know how, it's like not getting the chance to be human to have missed that moment. And that's the most human thing, to be able to look at that and see that, I think.
You certainly, you certainly dealt with, tragedy in your life.
Yeah.
And I found, everybody would do this kind of taunting thing. I've always been a mama's boy. I was very close to my mom. And the only thing that makes me not a total mama's boy is I was so close to my dad. I was close to both of my parents and had a very good relationship with them. And people that I knew that believed in God would taunt me. You're an atheist now, but wait till your parents die. There'd be that kind of sense in their argument. And when my mom died, and she died horribly. I mean, my mom was paralyzed and all sorts of suffering toward the end. And the grieving was incredible, and was probably a couple years of full tilt, grieving. And but I found atheism to be incredibly comforting, just hugely comforting.
Yes, me too.
Because it wasn't a spook show. I didn't have to postulate a God that allowed my mother to suffer. It was much easier for me to see that it was random chance, and there wasn't some God who could alleviate all their suffering, but it chose not to.
Right, I totally agree. Well, I never really thought about God as, my God was such a friendly uncle who lived upstairs. He didn't cause any suffering. He just empathized with you when bad things happened.
But he didn't try to stop the suffering.
No, he couldn't. My God didn't have very much power. He was really weak.
Very weak.
God.
Very weak.
He was more the God that you said, God, I just found I had cancer. And he'd say, oh, Julie, that's terrible. I am going to be with you. He's like sort of like an uncle, friendly guy. So my God, I never thought, how is there suffering? How could there be a God of suffering? And I don't know why. This is an embarrassment. A smart, intelligent person should have that question. I never had that question. I just thought, oh God, let me be cheerleader. And then I was. God, thank you. You're so nice. Really like an idiot.
That's not Julia Sweeney talking. I'm Saturday Night Live. And of letting go of God.
Yes.
And we're going to take a break. We'll be back, and we'll talk more to Julia Sweeney about all sorts of stuff. Maybe we'll get into the deep stuff and talk about CPAP. This is Michael Goodell's with me. My name is Penn Jillette. We're on CBS Radio, Free FM. This is Penn Jillette on the Free FM CBS Radio. Sitting here with Michael Goodell and Julia Sweeney, who thinks she should have multiple husbands. And
no, you are so...
Hi, this is Penn Jillette on CBS Free FM Radio. And you can go to penradio@gmail.com. And drop us a line if you like. PennRadio.com is the website. Michael Goodell is sitting here. And Las Vegas for today is your last chance. Today, Tuesday, February 13th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., you can audition for Identity. If you're in Las Vegas, like I am, the Doubletree Club at the Las Vegas Airport Hotel. That's on Pollock Drive, 7250 Pollock Drive, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to be a contestant on on identity. As usual, we have a good guest, not getting a word in.
Staying out of the way.
Staying out of the way.
That's my job.
And our guest is Julia Sweeney.
Yes.
Who was of the Broadway show Letting Go of God.
No, God Said Ha was Broadway. Off Broadway was Letting Go of God.
Okay.
Sorry.
When is Letting Go of God going to be on Broadway?
I decided not to do it.
Mamma Mia's leaving, isn't it?
I know.
The theater opens.
First of all, I wouldn't do it on Broadway. I would do it off Broadway. Mm-hmm. I think the way Broadway is now is so different than even 10 years ago when I was on Broadway. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I'm going to make it the film of it, because then it can live on through the magic of film, and I don't have to keep doing it, and I have a daughter, and I have other things to do.
And you're going to film in the live show, though, right?
Yeah. I'm going to do it just like I did God Said Ha. I'll have we'll build this theater into a stage, and then we'll have like 5 cameras that are moving, and then we'll do 2 performances in one day, and I'll cut it together.
Oh, you do the editing yourself?
No, but I'm directing it. I directed God Said Ha too.
Oh, cool.
So I'll sit with the editor.
So you're everything. You're actor, writer, producer, director. You just have a vertical monopoly.
In a very narrow field of my own performances, yes.
Like if McDonald's had cows.
Right.
And your boyfriend uses a CPAP machine.
Yes, that's our big connection.
Constant pressure, CPAP, airwave, continuous airwave.
See, I didn't even know it was called that.
Airwave pressure.
We just called it the machine.
And he straps it on to when you go to bed, right? Yes. He wears a mask to bed.
Yes, and when we started dating, he was nervous about it. And when he started to tell me, I said, I know all about this because of Penn.
Yes, I'm the CPAP kid.
You were our gateway for it being all okay. And I said, I know all about the tests and the hospital and how it feels and the things. I knew everything.
Good.
All because of you.
And so you have a boyfriend that can go into REM now. So
yes.
I'm controlling.
And he said it made a huge difference in his life. And I like it. I like sleeping next to it.
A lot of your sex life now. Wear the Catholic schoolgirl outfit. Sleep with a guy with a mask. That's what I'm always saying. A mask and a hose on his face. Right? You like the sound of it. That kind of reassuring sound.
I find it very comforting.
That there's a chance that the person in bed with you is breathing.
Well, no, I just like the rhythmic nature of it. And I thought it was going to be scary looking. And it isn't.
It's horrible.
Well, I went online and looked at pictures before we slept together the first time, and it was terrifying. It was horrible.
So many people go online and look at pictures before they sleep with someone.
Well, no,
it's very important. Oh, the machine. I thought.
And
thought you were just doing a little brush up for us.
I think it's cute, and I love him even more for the machine. Now he's this machine. It's just part of our life.
Yes. Yeah.
And my daughter now, like when we go, because we travel a lot, and she's along with us a lot, she's always, as soon as we get into the hotel room, she looks for where he can plug in. She's like, right over here. You've got to sleep on this side.
How old is your daughter?
7.
7?
Yeah.
Wow. How did she get to be 7?
I don't know. It's just the march of time.
She was only born like 2 years ago.
I know it. She had it accelerated. I don't know what happened. She just got so big. I know she's a person.
And she goes to public school?
Yes.
And are you the atheist mom at the PTA meeting?
No, it's actually the school that she goes to is about 80% Korean, so it's not Christian really.
Uh-huh.
Well, it is a little
there's
bit.
Some heavy-duty Korean Christians.
Yeah, that's true.
Sun Young Moon, right?
It's true, but it's. I don't know. I don't get that feeling. I actually love the public school. I think we should all be sending our kids to the public school. I'm behind it.
Your kids go to public school.
My kids go to public school.
My kids are too young.
I didn't go to public school. I went to private school, but
Catholics.
Yes.
Where at? Where were you
in
from?
Spokane.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I don't ever think of anybody as being from the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, really?
Never crosses my mind that people are from there. I always think that they go there when they're a hippie. They go to San Francisco. Then when they cross over into too heavy a hippie to even be believable, they move up to Washington.
Really, that's more Seattle though.
I guess that's my sense.
Spokane is really more like Idaho because it's close to the Idaho border. It's a conservative town.
Is Idaho up there?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I thought Idaho was further over east.
Look at a map.
Well, Gilbert Gottfried.
Yes.
Can't find Texas on a map.
Who's expecting a baby? Can you believe it?
Can I believe it? It's predicted in Revelations. It's laid out directly. And the Jew with horns shall have offspring.
Oh my God!
That actual verse is about Gilbert. Yeah, he's. Have you talked to him about it?
No. I hear he has mixed feelings, but I'm really excited, and I know that it's the best. I think this is good.
Mixed feelings Gilbert having towards his kids are kind of like, Paula Abdul's movie getting mixed reviews.
So is that okay? I mean, I hope she's not upset if his wife heard that.
His wife knows. I've been out to dinner when you start talking about her being pregnant, and Gilbert puts his head down and covers his ears. I can't even think about it. I think he'll be fine. I was going to say I think he'll be a great dad, but I don't want to really do outright lies on the radio.
I know. Well, it's hard to know. How do you quantify that? I don't know.
Sure,
anyway.
sure. But I think,
okay, so anyway, we don't have to talk about him, but I'm very excited about it. Personally, I'm very happy for him.
Now, is your kid genetically Korean?
No, she's Chinese.
Who could tell the difference?
Actually, you really can. I didn't think you could, but you really can. And it's interesting is her school is mostly Korean, and the Koreans really stick together, and she's Asian, but she's really, culturally, she's like an Irish Catholic atheist. You know what I mean? She doesn't.
Yeah, so she's an Irish Catholic
culturally
atheist.
Catholic a little. Not really,
Chinese,
but Chinese. And she's not ostracized or anything by the Koreans, but you can see by the Koreans, they have their own culture thing happening. Mm-hmm. And so she's not in that group. And it's just she's noticed that she's Asian, but she's not with the other Asians.
Okay. At 7, you noticed that you're not with the
Well, she noticed, the kids she plays with are not necessarily.
Because they're all playing, corner supermarket. They're all playing corner bodega.
Actually, it's not even really that true because a lot of the kids are now second generation, not first generation.
Mm-hmm. So second generation. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so they're American.
Now, did you go over to
English is good.
You went over to China to adopt?
Yes, I did.
So you stayed in where were you?
I went to Guangzhou, but Guangzhou is in southern China. That's Canton is the old name for Guangzhou. But I spent 3 months in China the fall before I adopted her just to get to know China. And I went all over everywhere.
But see, I was in China, and the only thing I liked was the Americans in the hotel there to adopt
Were we in
kids.
Beijing?
We were in Beijing.
Oh. And you have to get out. You got to go to Kunming or Dali or Lijiang.
We were like 200 clicks out in a place called
Tibet.
Wuchao. We were a place called Wuchao. It was just a horrible hellhole in the winter. See, we were going to places that people didn't want to be. That was the whole idea of the TV show. We were going to places that real magicians work. I mean, by real magicians, I mean magicians that aren't working for tourists. I mean people with real magic powers. Right. It'd be great to have this whole atheist discussion and say, and the people with real magic powers.
Oh, see, I didn't know where that place was. But anyway, go ahead.
And it was just, in India and in China, magicians are not, of course the same as the USA, are not your higher class of entertainers. Oh. So we were in really bad places with our brother and sister magicians. And, it was horrible. And when we went back to the hotel in Beijing, we were at least around it was just the greatest thing to see in the world. These American, there to adopt these little baby girls who, because of the draconian policies for birth control.
Although it's all lessening up.
Yeah,
they're allowing them to have more kids, and there's actually fewer kids to be adopted, and that's causing a problem.
But they were treated, little girls were years ago, just left to die in some cases because of that.
Well, now they're going to have this generation coming up. They're going to have 30 million more boys than girls. It's going to be terrible.
Well, it's even more terrible than one might think at first glance because the way you judge the violence of any society is how many men they have between 16 and 30.
I had that joke in my second show of because I found the Chinese to be incredibly homophobic, and I did this whole thing about. Because I did this bike ride from Guangzhou to Guilin, a 14-day bike ride, and the Chinese biking guides couldn't believe that one of the couples in our group was a lesbian couple. They just couldn't get over it, and every day one of the leaders would cycle up next to me and say, I don't understand that couple. Who the man? Who the man? Anyway, I had a whole story about it. And then I said, they're going to be in a bad situation having this attitude when in a few years they're going to have their population be so dominated by men and not have any girls. What do you think is going to happen? And it's going to be violent.
Very violent. And a large percentage of the men of China of that generation will never have a date with a woman.
I know.
So it's they all become Gilbert Gottfried.
Women more prized, but it actually doesn't work that way. Women are being kidnapped and enslaved to be the wives, and they should.
So there is an upside.
No, but they should have polyandry. I think they should just say there's polyandry.
And they should all learn that word too.
Well, women should be able to have 4 husbands.
Sure.
So that then I think if they had a policy now, a reverse policy, that every woman should have 4 husbands, they might mitigate some of the violence. And I'm being completely serious. That might come. I'm
all for it. I am all for it. And I think you should be these... Well, see,
but I should go tell them.
Yeah.
It's actually part of their ancient culture, because in Tibet, polyandry is the norm.
Is it true?
Yeah.
Wow. That seems
because
cool.
the Tibetans are traders, and they'd have to go so far away to trade because Tibet is so isolated. So the women, if you need to have a man around in that harsh environment, you can't just have one man who goes off to trade. So you have to have. So usually one woman would marry all the brothers of a family. All the brothers of the family would marry one woman.
And that works out really nicely genetically with the kids too.
Because they're all interrelated and they're all care for each other. It actually works out great.
And there's also there's nothing incestuous about that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
See? I solved it.
You solved it.
They've got to reinstitute polyandry in China.
Is it illegal in polyandry?
Yeah.
Or just culturally not accepted?
It's not accepted. And also they look at the Tibetans as backwards, so I don't know if they'd like that, idea of calling back to the Tibetans. I mean, the Han Chinese look down on the Tibetan Chinese.
For good and sufficient reason, right?
No.
You're a big fan of the Tibetans?
Well, no. When I see those bumper stickers that say Free Tibet, I go crazy. Because I think Free Tibet to what? To become a religious monarchy, which is what it was under the Dalai Lama?
We did it one of our shows, one of our Bulls hit shows was about the Dalai Lama. That was the show. We trashed Mother Teresa and the Dalai Lama.
Oh, you know what? I was so happy about. I saw that show and I was so ecstatic about Mother Teresa that I didn't even really listen to the Dalai Lama part. And yet he's the one who needs to be more not vilified. I don't think he needs to be vilified, but people give him respect that they should not be giving him.
Well, when you say people, you mean Richard Gere, and that's a little.
Well, no, but the general public go His Holy. Like even if you read in the paper, His Holiness is like capitalized. His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Yeah,
I don't think that's right.
Well, we're not big fans of the Dalai Lama.
Well, he is trying. He's a victim of his own circumstances.
He's trying very hard to be a dictator.
No,
and
but
they won't let him.
Is trying to be scientific. He's saying very good things, much better than any other religious leader about the scientific method. Mm-hmm. But in the end, he believes in a sort of intelligent design type of.
Right. He also believes that he should be king.
Yeah, he was fired. So if he doesn't do that, no one gives him money.
Well, anyway.
You know what I mean? He's at
but
the point
I know the other thing is people glorify this idea of the monastery with all those monks. They talk about the pedophilia in the Catholic Church. No one talks about the pedophilia, or if that's what you want to call it, but in the Tibetan monks in the monasteries, as soon as you're a boy and you get assigned to somebody. I mean, it's just institutionalized there. And no one, they see these monks in the robes, it's like, oh, they're so great. It isn't so great. It's really insidious and horrible.
And they're assigned to someone for sexual pleasure?
Well, it isn't that explicit, but that's what happens. Obviously, that's what you take a bunch of men and you tell them they can't have sex and you put them together in a room. That's what happens. That's
Can we unlock the door?
I'm here, boys.
Thank goodness.
Well, she's made all of her arguments very strong. So
I believe her.
We're going to take a little break. We'll be back with Julia Sweeney, Michael Goodell, and my name is Penn Jillette on CBS Radio, Free FM. Yeah, this is Penn Jillette on the Free FM CBS Radio, sitting here with Michael Goodell and Julia Sweeney. Now, since you are raising a daughter that is genetically a different race than you are, do you feel any sort of compunction to teach her about China? Or?
I did, and now I don't.
Good.
I started out at the beginning. I had a Chinese nanny. She learned some Mandarin. She understood everything. I wanted to take her to China because I spent 3 months in China, and for 2 months I hated it. Every single day I woke up and said, I hate this country more than any country I've ever been in. And then I found the parts I loved about it, and then I loved it so much, and I want her to benefit from my research. I want to take her to the cities I loved. I want to take her on the hikes I did by the Yangtze. I want to take her to Tibet. I want to do that. But as she said to me, when I was trying to force her into a Chinese adopted kids playgroup, she said, just because they're Chinese doesn't mean I want to hang out with them.
And you've also dyed her hair red and painted freckles on her, right?
No, but anyway, no. But she's interested until it's difficult. She's like, I want to speak Chinese, but it's hard, so no, I don't.
Yeah, well, that seems...
and then
I went through that stage.
And I kept thinking, my idea was she'll know Chinese because it will be such an advantage. You know, China's this coming superpower, and she'll have this great advantage of knowing, English and Chinese. And then we started getting to know the Chinese in Los Angeles, which is enormous,
Mm-hmm.
And then all those people, there's not going to be any shortage of people who speak Chinese and English. Like, she's going to have no advantage, really. So I did, and also, when I was in China, when I was bike riding in China, I had a biking guide.
You were
biking guides.
telling us about lesbian bike riders in China.
Yes, but actually they're American lesbians. But, but the Chinese, the Beijing biking guide and the Shanghaiese biking guide could not speak to each other in Mandarin because their dialects are so strong they couldn't understand each other and had to speak to each other in English for the whole trip. Mm-hmm. So then,
did you ever talk to anybody
I was
from
like,
Georgia?
why am I making this kid learn Chinese when if she goes to China, she'll have to speak in English anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't. So that's your answer. Don't. No, I don't.
Because I had this, before I had kids, years and years ago, I had this dream that I had adopted a kid from Mexico, and that I named him Jose because it was the only Mexican name I knew. And then the one concession I made to his culture was pronouncing his last name Jillette instead of Gillette. And, he was Jose Jillette. And so because that dream was so vivid, I guess I wanted to be raising kids back then. I think of this often. A lot of my friends have adopted genetically different race kids. And I always ask this question. It always seems to me like it doesn't matter at all. It seems like the biggest chance we have for world peace is people who are culturally different than they look.
Oh, that's interesting.
I just think mix the races up and move people around.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, if she's going to learn a culture inside out, and it wants to be besides American culture, why wouldn't it be African?
Right.
Really mix it up.
Well, that's what she said to me. It's so funny because I said to her, "Do you want to?" Because one of her friends, who's also adopted from China, started taking Chinese lessons on Saturday mornings for 3 hours, and I said, "Do you want to take Chinese?" And she said, "I'd rather learn Spanish." And I said, "Really?" And she goes, "I just think I'd use it more." And I thought, she's right. She's a Southern California kid. She would use Spanish if she learned another language.
Also, Chinese is so hard.
Oh, it's so hard. Especially,
so hard.
well, Cantonese. She's from Canton, so it's like Cantonese has like 12 tones for each vowel, and Mandarin only has like 5 or 6. But like I would learn.
You learned stuff over there, didn't you?
Yes, but it's really like I would say to her babysitter who was Chinese, like they would try to teach me something.
Now, is that coincidental, or are you trying?
No,
to
I went to a Chinese nanny agency that had Chinese nannies that taught Anglo-Americans, their Chinese kids, Chinese while they babysat them.
So that's a whole market.
Oh yes, this is big business, baby.
Big business. Boy, our population of this world is so great that you really can have, gay
Yes.
Chinese American Catholic bass fishermen. You can really find any sort of category you want.
Yes, we went through a bunch of nannies, but one guy was a Manny, and he was half Irish and half Chinese. He was as if Mulan and I had a baby together. He was our nanny.
And
it was confusing to look at. Look at if you were with him, that wouldn't be the result.
So your daughter's name
is, well, her name is Tara. Her name in Chinese. When I adopted her, I decided, you have to say before you go what you're going to name them. I decided on Tara. Then I got there and they said her name is Mulan. Like the Disney animated film. And I was like,
Tell everybody.
like the Disney animated film, and they're like, well, it just means beautiful and strong. That's a good name for her. So then I came back and I thought, well, she can't be Mulan. I'll spend my life saying, I didn't name her that. I had nothing to do with that.
You call her Dumbo.
And then
her name is Nemo.
She announced when she was 3 that she wanted to be Mulan. So then I said, okay. So she changed to Mulan.
You just look around. It'll all be okay. So her name is now Mulan?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But now, when you adopted, how old was she when you adopted her?
1.5 years.
Okay. She already had a name and.
Yeah, she was used to being told, but except they pronounce it in Cantonese so differently. It's like Mulan. It's a different sound.
Do that again.
Mulan.
Now she was in an orphanage for 1.5 years.
Yeah.
So she heard all that Chinese, right?
Yeah.
So in theory, she should be able to learn it.
Yes. In fact, when I got her, she's a year and a half to me. She's just babbling on. And then I came back with her, and she wasn't eating very much. A little. And then I went up to San Francisco to a Cantonese restaurant, and she was going her gaga, she kept saying, "Ema, Ema, Ema," and all the ladies came out and were throwing her around. Oh, she's so cute. And then they go, "Oh, she's saying, I'm hungry." I had no idea. I thought she was just going goo goo gaga, and I was like, "Oh, you cutie." Poor kid.
But
I'm hungry.
You can't feed your baby before she asks.
I tried to feed her, but it wasn't working then. Anyway, she's a big eater now. Everything worked out.
Okay, good.
Once you learn the word.
Right.
And so, you gonna adopt any other kids? You're gonna go on that Mia Farrow weird trip?
No.
Collecting kids?
No.
Okay. You're happy with me?
No, I would have if I'd started younger.
Hmm?
But I'm older.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to the other side.
So now that you've been through Pat and Saturday Night Live and motherhood and being the pinup girl for atheism, what's your next step? What are you doing next?
Well, this show, Jill Sobule, this musician.
Yeah, I love her. I love her
She's
stuff.
great, and we met last year, and we live like 2 blocks away from each
Really?
other. Yeah, so now
I
we
wrote her a
just become
fan
best
letter,
friends.
I wrote her a fan letter out of the blue. Yeah, because I heard her song about the whole, what's it called? The list of heroes.
Oh, here, we're going to do that tonight.
Oh, it's such a great song.
I know, isn't it great?
And I wrote her a fan letter based on that.
Oh, you did?
And we corresponded a little bit.
Oh, but you'll be doing your show. Oh.
No, I will be, you do your show. It's okay.
So you do your show occasionally. Sometimes I do a show.
People will know that this might be being heard at different times.
Started doing the show in L.A. Now we've done it in New York at the Public Theater, and we're going to go to Sundance on Tuesday and do a show there.
And what's the show called?
It's just called The Jill and Julia Show, and it's just me telling stories and her singing songs, and it's incredibly loose and not organized, but we're thinking of actually making it into a real show, so that's sort of my next thing.
Don't do magic.
No.
Good.
No.
Just don't want you stepping on our thing.
No.
Just stay away from that two-person show.
Yeah.
You got that Jill and Julia thing, and already was it Julia or Jill or Jill or Jill?
No, it's Jill and Julia, and we have a theme song.
Do you? That she wrote, or did you wite it?
She wrote it.
Are you going to sing with her at all?
But we've been writing some songs. We've been having fun writing together a little bit. I shouldn't even say that because she's really the songwriter.
Uh-huh.
But I have approval of laughing. I like the lyric.
Is she telling stories now too in the show?
No, she really just sings.
And is this more of your religious jag?
No, it's mostly about romantic love.
Oh, really? Really?
But it's also Heroes is in it, and we do some other things.
So,
it's mostly about love. It's so unformed. It's really me just saying whatever I think and then her singing a fantastic song. And my friend Wendy Goldman said, I need to work on my stories, but she goes, it's a little uneven. It's like Jill she runs into her closet and she has all these couture dresses that have been made just for her. She comes out and it's like you're running into Goodwill and you're like going through it and you come out and say, look at this sweatshirt. So that's sort of our show. She's much better than me, but we're trying to make it into something.
Then she's here in Vegas now.
She's all right.
It's okay. You can say stuff. People know it's taped now. You've already blown it.
I'm sorry.
It's already blown wide open.
She's arriving later today.
I'm looking very forward to meeting her.
Maybe she's here now.
She's
great.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
will you be able to?
Maybe
She'll be here tomorrow.
I won't. I'm not doing a show tonight. And
she's really a special person. She's amazing. God.
What does that mean? She's a special person.
She's unbelievably talented.
Oh, okay.
She's really insightful.
I thought you meant
she's really hilarious.
Special needs person.
I just adore her.
How long have you known her now? Just a year?
I did a pilot for Fox 10 years ago, and I wanted her to do the theme song, and then the pilot didn't go, but I was a big fan. And I had written her a fan letter, too, saying, I just love you. And then when I met her a year ago, we were just fast friends. So.
Okay, well, this is... no, that's okay. You don't have to make that horrible face like you've done something terribly wrong.
Okay,
we are with Julia Sweeney, who told us today that Harvey Keitel was not as crazy as we might think. That's what we learned. That it'd be a good idea if Chinese women had more than one husband. Yeah, yes. I don't know that word, so how to say that.
It's polyandry.
Polyandry.
More than one.
You were pushing for that.
Polyandry.
We've learned a lot, and she is, of course...